I want to start by saying thank you very much to Darren, who's been the face of the community here, and you can hear the pain in his voice. Alice Springs is a beautiful town. It's the heart of our country, and that heart is broken at the moment. And it's clear that Alice Springs has never been further from Canberra than it is right now. And I would just say to the Prime Minister, in a bipartisan way, just at a human level, please hear Darren's story. There's not another bakery in Australia that I'm aware of that has concrete bollards out the front, and the shop next door here with 6-foot-high iron bars to stop people from getting in and committing break and enters, willful damage, theft, sexual assault. I mean, this is commonplace in Alice Springs, in our country, and it's completely unacceptable, and Australians should be as angry as anyone is who lives in this town. There are stories that we've heard today as we've walked the streets about the dysfunction, the desperation of young Indigenous kids who are being sexually assaulted still on a regular basis. That hasn't stopped. And when I left here in October, I went to see the Prime Minister to plead with him to intervene, to do something, to not just say that there are existing programs and the programs are rolling out and that they're working with the Territory government. What's here at the moment isn't working. People are leaving this town in droves. Just talking to a young lady, she and her husband have decided to pack up, leave a community that she loves, that she wants to stay in, but they just don't believe that they're safe here anymore. And that is heartbreaking. And the Prime Minister needs to spend more time than just jumping off the jet, spending an hour or two here and then jumping on the jet and going back to Canberra. It's not sufficient, it's not good enough. And I think the people of the Northern Territory, but in particular here in Alice Springs, deserve to be heard by their Prime Minister, and he's not listening. He's not acting. And the travesty will continue here in Alice Springs. Nothing has changed from when I was here in October. The same stories about break-ins, about stolen cars, about risk to human life, about the sexual assault of young boys and girls. It's still exactly as it was then. And this community can't wait, regardless of your view on The Voice. We need to see help and assistance on the ground here to restore law and order and to make sure that people can go about their lives, can go to a barbecue without being accosted on the way to it or on the way home, that they can go to a restaurant at night, that they can do that safely. And people that we spoke to on the street today spoke about exactly that issue. And they're just staying at home. And so the economic productivity is lost in this community as well. Tourism numbers are down in Alice Springs because people won't go and stay at the caravan park. Let's have an honest conversation in our country about the reality of what is happening here. And Canberra is a million miles away. And I'd say to the Prime Minister, to Linda Burney, to any of the government ministers, come here, roll up your sleeves and listen to what people are saying here on the streets, because it is alarming and it's very concerning. Now, on another issue, I want to make some comments about the upcoming budget. Obviously, the Treasurer has gone to an election with the Prime Minister saying that he had a plan to help Australians with the cost of living crisis. They had a budget last October. There was no such assistance, no such plan evidenced at all. They've got a budget coming up in May, and it seems the Treasurer has had to go to the United States to try and get some ideas about how he could help Australian families. On the eve of Easter, they ripped off about $1,500 from 10 million Australians on incomes of $126,000 or less. So at a time when people are paying more for their mortgages, more for their electricity, more for their insurance, more at the grocery checkout, they're being hit in the back pocket by this government as well. So the Prime Minister promised Australians on 97 occasions that he would reduce their power bills by $275 every year. Of course, that hasn't happened. So I think the government has a lot to answer for, and a lot of Australian families are doing it tough now. And if interest rates hold up at the levels that they're at the moment, over the next 6 or 12 months, a lot of families and small businesses are going to do it very tough indeed.